Hi guys. Hi Samantha.
Hi.
Uh, does anyone have any questions for Doug or comments, or maybe we should just leave it at questions and no comments?
Is there a way we can get sorry, you
Go
said the
ahead.
video are through Real Body Works for the nerve mobilizations?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's realbodywork.com. You just go, you do a search for like nerve mobilization, Doug Alexander, ED, streaming, body work, whatever, you'll find it pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it's like dirt cheap. Like I couldn't believe it. He said, someone asked me about this. Yeah, there's a thread in Facebook on the RMTAO, and I'm like, oh. So I was looking around as people wanted to see stuff, and that's a bargain, man. 6 hours for whatever it was, $45 a piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say, so I don't have a video, I don't know why it's not working, but Doug, I actually was very honored that I got to attend one-year classes in Toronto for the nerve mobilization, and just hearing you speak has really almost, I don't want to say justified, how I've been transitioning my own therapy practice. It's been about 12 years now, and I find it really interesting on how you said about you can just feel and your attunement, and I really have been doing that with my practice. My clients come in and they don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't really know what I'm going to do until they come in, and I don't know what I'm going to do until what I feel. I don't want to say I feel the pain of them. I feel that breath. There's just something I can quickly assess a situation. And I want to say that you're one of the very first, and it doesn't surprise me, but you're one of the first people that I can relate to in that feeling. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming up, and I was so happy to be able to listen to you speak. So thank you.
Nice.
That's awesome, Carrie. I think you're way ahead of me there. I think it's kind of like, it's like I'm going along train tracks. I've got one foot, on the cognitive, conceptual. And I've got one foot in the kinesthetic. Actually, now I have one foot on the emotional and so on. I would say, like, just on the nerve thing, like, dudes, once you know a little bit of neuroanatomy, you know where a freaking nerve is, if you can give yourself permission to connect with it. And as soon as you meet the turgidity of the nerve, shit happens. So suddenly they'll start feeling stuff like hydraulically through the nerve. Not always, but often there's a conscious thing for the person. And the neural system responds. So, so there is something about attending to anything, right? Like if you attend to a nerve in a physical way, what happens for me, like that, where would be an example? Yeah, if I was just distal to somebody's inguinal ligament, I got the femoral nerve, and I got the nerve, femoral nerve. I know anatomically, like what their sequence is and so on. If I feel pulsation, then I go lateral. But when I'm on a good day, I can just move my fingers across the thigh circumferentially. We're still recording, whatever. I can feel information. I've got a completely different, like, oh, there's information flowing here. Oh, it's gone. So I can, I don't know how, maybe, just like an axonal, I'm feeling the fluctuation of the, what do you call it? The bunny hopping. The transmission of the nerve impulses. But you can, and same thing with fluid. Like, my goodness, as soon as you start paying attention to fluid, then people will feel hydraulic things. So there's a big catchment there of possibility. Here's one that's kind of scary. Like, when I first did cranial work, you learn how to feel this rhythm, right? I was really good at it, I thought. And then one day I had, you guys can see, I'm at a standing desk here. That's a board, right? Where I put stuff on the treadmill. I can put my on this wood here. And if I go to try to feel if the wood has a ring over them, if it has this sort of expansion and contraction, if you will, I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, though, this wood's dead, and I'm feeling with a live system. So what I think I'm feeling is I'm feeling the movement of my own body, but I'm thinking that I'm still, and I'm interpreting that as movement of the board. So that's called a pareidolia, a palpatory pareidolia, a hallucination, a palpation-based hallucination. So, and some people will just say, you know, feeling anything is bullshit. And I think that's bullshit. But anyways, but I always have a little crack detector on the side. You know, I try to anyways have a part of my consciousness that's differentiated and going, oh, is this going along like what I suspected, or you know, or is kind of diffused. So if there's something comes up, doesn't fit.
Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna mute everybody and then let Doug talk.
I'm glad that it's for them. Like, wow. Yeah. So I'm because of my science training, I'm always kind of curious about what my perceptions are and how I interpret them, and I think that might block me. I mean, I know it does. It blocks me from a broader catchment of perceptions. But that's just, you know, everybody makes a choice as a therapist, you know, how much you attend to. So hats off to you, Carrie. You know, sounds like you really.
It's a good question. Yeah, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. There's just too much noise. I can't hear what Doug is saying. Anyone else have a question? Whoa, sorry, hang on one sec. Okay. Oh, unmute. Okay, go ahead.
So when you were talking about inertia, is it possible for you to reiterate what that means to you?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
So inertia is the resistance of something to movement. If something is in movement already, you know, it's trundling along, inertia is the resistance to the change in its movement.
Mm.
So I find like inertia is a physical, it's got a physical feeling to it, right? Like, so I like physical metaphors, if you will. So inertia, I treated this power lifter and they had all sorts of density, like, you know, they've got whatever, like 12,000 pounds or whatever, 200 or 400 on their hands here on the bar, and up they go. So in this position, you know, your elbow's flexed. And in that flexed position, whoopsie, that's where you get the, you get maximal increase in pressure in the cubital tunnel there. And you get increased tension in the metacollateral ligament. And then by doing this part of it, that's stretching your flexor carpi ulnaris. So there's a lot of forces going in there, hydraulic, tensional, pressure, and so on. And then, you know, you do whatever else. So she had how, you know, seen people and they treated her skin because she had tingling and numbness in her hand and in ulnar distribution. Plus she had achy stuff here, not tingly here, achy here. So, you know, she had people treat these things and so on. And on the first session or two, it seemed clear to me that the density of tissue in here and the congestion in the tunnel where the nerve runs was really significant. So like the density of her flexor carpi ulnaris tendon, which is arched, the density of her metacollateral ligament, the interstitial thickness and gooiness that seemed to be subjacent to that, and then the nerve wasn't moving well at all either. So that, I would say that's a physical inertia, if you will, that is every time she's moving her elbow, like we should be sliding and gliding here. If I move my elbow, if I flex my elbow like this, if I prep it by extending my wrist, I'm pulling my ulnar nerve distally here. And then when I go like this, my own nerve should slide, especially if I have slack proximally by doing something like this. So the nerve should glide distally. It ain't. You know, when you go the other way, it should be going the other way. So there's this inertia, resistance to movement. And then I use it as a larger metaphor to say, oh, there's inertia, like her resistance to, not her, you know, psychological resistance, but resistance of this fascia. You know, it's just so incredible. So I was squishing my thumb, was like, ah. And then she's like, you know, I've got this like Aston tool in my purse or knapsack. I'm like, oh, can I see that? And so she had this like $20 or $30 Graston knockoff, chunk of metal, with a nice curve to it. And I'm like, oh, can we work with that? So then I had a tool. It's like, you know, if you know, a little kid on a bicycle is coming toward me in the street and I can't get out of the way and my grandma's behind me, I'm going to push him out of the way. But if it's a big Chevy truck and it's coming toward me and grandma, there's no pushing that out of the way. The inertia is too much. So I didn't have a tool that was strong enough to challenge that. So I used this Graston tool and ripped it up, you know, carefully. And because of the nerve mobilization concepts, when I'm ripping it up, the only thing I'm scared about there is irritating the nerve. So if it's like burning, cutting, that's awesome. She starts to feel tingling and numbness, then I know that I'm right on the nerve, or whatever I'm doing is too challenging. So I really did a pretty good job ripping that up. And she got a little bit sore at the elbow, you know, the next day, but she didn't have any more neurological, like she had less neurological stuff. So anyways, that's an inertia thing. Long answer. Okay, I've got another way to think about inertia in terms of persistent pain, but we can save that.
Yeah, I mean, you can continue to ask the questions later on, but Jonathan, sorry, wait a sec. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Doug, similar to the same question you just had though, with that bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do a lot of work around functional rehab, everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, there's a gentleman out of Australia, Tim Gabbett, who said it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the load you're not prepared for. So how would you go about after that to now train that position for a person with the gliding and everything else? What would you do for exercise-wise or REM-X or whatever to help that person be able to prepare to actually go into that and not allow that to happen again?
Yeah. Well, this is someone who's, you know, if they ever listen, don't be offended. Their connective tissue is like leather.
Yeah.
They're like tough moccasins, man. Like not the soft moccasin, a tough moccasin. Yeah. So.
Like,
yeah,
would you have that person doing a lot of their own glide work and everything else?
Their own glide work, their own Graston work, or whatever you want to call that.
Yep.
Plus loading with just the bar. So an Olympic bar is like 45 pounds or so. So they load with just the bar that goes through the movement. So, you know, a progressive, you know, return to their use. I think there's probably a lot of other kinds of creative things you could do as a movement person. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing that with someone else who has they get pain in their foot in the medial side of their calcaneus. This is not a foot, I know. Yeah. And it's been a while now, but somewhere like medial or lateral, plantar arch kind of zone, and they're into powerlifting and so on too. So one of the things that we discovered is that when you've got a nerve that's been irritated for a long time, it doesn't have a homogeneous experience. So I'm just looking for a power cable or something. Hold on. So this is a tubing for air. So this is a nerve here, and it runs however long it runs, right?
Yeah.
This is a place where it's had a lot of compression and irritation. Then it's usually swollen, you know. So you'd be going along if you can palpate the nerve, and then suddenly you're like, oh, what's that? So what you want to do is if this is a chafe point, then you want to stop chafing it. So what I was describing there was, you know, I'm releasing a bunch of this tissue that's compressing and chafing on the nerve. Then I did hydraulic things so that the fluid between the interface above it and the nerve was juicier, so it was less viscous. But when you're loading this puppy, right, especially at this time when it's vulnerable, if you can pre-position, like let's say the point is like right in here, okay? If you can pre-position the nerve so it's distal, and then you're back to this situation again, it's not going to get grumpy as well. Or if it's like this, you know, the chafe point, and you pre-position before the load and you're more proximal, then you can usually get away with that too. So we got to a point where with this person, they had pain in their foot only when they're sitting on the toilet. So I'm like, okay, you know, it's, you know, how high is your toilet? And we had all, like I practice at a gym, right? So we got everything. So we got the height and everything, sits down, everything. And the issue was that was putting an irritated part of her tibial nerve at a chafe point. So I'm like, oh, what happens when you go up, you know, on the ball of your foot? So when you go up on the ball of your foot, then there's slack on the tibial nerve. If, let's say this is the tibial nerve goes around the medial malleolus and it's like this. So when you plantar flex, there's slack in the system and the nerve will move, the balance of tensional force is more proximal now. So the irritated place will be more proximal. So, you know, we tested this out, like finding what position would work for. And now, you know, when, I mean, it's been a while, but now when they need to, you know, sit on the toilet, they raise their heels and there's no pain. You could probably get to the place where, you know, if you could drop your heel when you're sitting on the toilet, that would probably be good too. So in terms of, you okay with me?
Yep.
Yep. So in terms of this, you know, powerlifting move, whatever it is, you might want to change it. So if you want to offload the nerve and have it be distal, it probably sucks for form, but if you use your shoulders, then you're going to have less tension. Or if you figure out some other kind of rig, you know, where you got bands or something. So, you know, if you don't have to have your wrist like this, I'm sure there's other kinds of lifts and stuff you can do where you'd be flexed here. Basically, you probably want to avoid full elbow flexion, especially with like eccentric or concentric loading added to shoulder girdle depression and wrist extension. So you'd have to, you know, problem solve around that.
Yeah, like triphasic training mostly, eh? Looking at all triphase, more like triphasic training, working at eccentric, isometric loads, but different areas. It's like there was a study on a free throw with basketball for years ago, and one group did 100 free throws from the free throw line, but then another group of people did 10 from here and 10 from here and 10 from here and did everything. But the people who just shot free throws didn't get anywhere. But when they trained all the different aspects, those people were so much better when it came down to the just shooting the free throw. So train them in different ways.
In terms of their accuracy, their ability.
Yeah, so their accuracy was better. They were able to, they actually found they were able to, they're putting them into different aspects of, okay, now you're going to run the gym 3 times, now go shoot a free throw. And those people were able to recoup better, way faster, everything. So thinking about, like, I'm just saying, with that nerve stuff you're talking about, doing all that, but doing in different positions. Yes. I mean, I am a product of you, Doug.
You're a product of me. Yeah.
And, you know, you taught me a lot about this stuff. You know my case of my subdural adhesion in my spine, and I still have those issues. And, you know, I deal with, the biggest thing for me is loading my system.
Yep.
And load for me is probably one of the best correctives for me. I find with a lot of my clients, doing isometric work is one of the greatest things, but using things like the wall, or using, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to learn hip extension, right? So we're going to learn a hinge, touch your bum to the wall, right? Let the wall be the teacher. Let the weight be the teacher.
Reach to the wall with your butt.
Yeah.
Can you add a couple things to that?
Yeah.
So I haven't read the study, obviously, but you know, if you train people to shoot at different distances, then they're going to be more plastic and responsive when they're in a game, shooting from different distances, for sure. When you run somebody, you're activating, a whole other energy system, but also you're going for fatigue. And then in that fatigue state, you're asking them to do a finer motor control thing.
Yeah.
And if that's, you want people to perform well at the end of the game, and get that final basket in when there's 3 seconds to go, then you got to train precision of the movements, with fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's whole protocols around that. That's brilliant, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it goes to your neuroplasticity stuff, right? Like, our body has memory, and we have to be able to train that memory, but we can't just train one thing. We got to train multiple things that work into that. So like your person with the big toe issue there, you put them in different positions. Yeah. Quadruped, you put them in lunge, you put them on their toes, you add load, you don't add load, you isometric train them, you do it under tension, under pressure.
Especially somebody that doesn't have this interface issue and the local thing. When someone has central neuroplastic changes that are maintaining a pain experience, then all these different ways, if it's the big toe, for example, the quadruped and the standing and the leaning and all that stuff, that opens up their sensory motor mapping, so that you're creating other experiences for them to have and explore that are not triggering pain. And when the issue is not so much in the tissue, but in the brain, then that's key. So there's a dude, I don't know if you know him, John, it's Corey Blickenstaff. Corey Blickenstaff. I can't remember what his stuff is called. He's got lots of videos on YouTube. Really around the kind of thing you're saying, but not based for like skill development on sports, but based on pain reduction.
No, understandable. Yeah. I just had a train of thought, but I just lost it. I was just going to bring something up, but.
Guys, I really appreciate all the questions. Have you got your own way of connecting with Doug if I end this now, because it's going to go super long, and I have clients coming up and I don't want to just end it. Just want to make sure you guys can connect with Doug. Do you all have a way of getting through to?
I think you guys
Doug?
are all.
I have a feeling these questions aren't done.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to, do like some kind of a, thing that's more targeted on a particular topic, or if it's something I know something about, I'm happy to do something like that too.
I just have a question, Doug. I'm not sure, but if we're friends with you on Facebook, can I communicate with you that way as well?
Yeah. So just go to the Facebook Messenger. I can't remember if that's how.
That's
not.
Yeah, that's how I use that a lot for you.
Facebook Messenger is the way.
Do you want to have a messenger or an email address?
I can give you my email address. Yeah, it's Doug, DOUG, at massage, MASSAGE, therapy, THERAPY, practice, PRACTICE.com.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Sam is recommending what's his name's book on the supple leopard.
Yeah. Kelly Starlett.
Yeah.
Is his name.
Yeah, it's
really quite good.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed all the questions too. And
so alone for a little bit of time.
I really got a lot out of it. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, and thanks, Doug, for all your awesome answers. It's going to be a good one.
Thanks for organizing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, you guys.
Good afternoon.
Stay in touch.
Bye.
Bye.